The old dollhouse stood in the attic, shrouded in dust and secrets. Its presence was almost palpable, as if it were a living entity, silently observing the passage of time. A relic of a bygone era, it held within its intricately crafted walls a darkness that whispered through the decades. Each room, each tiny piece of furniture seemed to tell a story of its own, stories that were both fascinating and terrifying. Passed down through generations of the Van Dermot family, each caretaker had met an untimely and mysterious end. The family portraits, now faded and forgotten, bore silent witness to the tragedies that had befallen them. The dollhouse, with its vacant windows like soulless eyes, was blamed. Those who gazed into its dark, empty windows often felt an unsettling presence, as if something malevolent was staring back at them. It was a cursed object, they said, a conduit to somewhere sinister. The very air around it seemed to hum with a dark energy, a warning to those who dared to come too close. The air around the dollhouse felt heavy, thick with unspoken stories and lingering dread. Cobwebs draped over its tiny roof like a shroud, adding to the sense of foreboding that surrounded it. The scent of decay clung to its wooden frame, a musty reminder of its age and the secrets it held captive. The wood, once polished and new, was now cracked and worn, bearing the scars of time and the weight of its dark history. Some who dared to touch the cold, smooth surfaces of the dollhouse spoke of chills running down their spines, of faint whispers carried on the breeze that seemed to emanate from within its tiny rooms. They claimed to hear the echoes of the past, the voices of those who had once owned it, now trapped within its walls. Amelia, a young woman with a thirst for the unknown, inherited the old Victorian mansion from her grandmother. The house, with its towering spires and intricate woodwork, had always been a source of mystery and wonder for her. It was a place where secrets seemed to whisper from every corner, and shadows danced in the moonlight. The dollhouse, a fixture in the attic since she was a child, had always both intrigued and frightened her. Its tiny rooms and delicate furniture seemed to hold stories of their own, tales of a bygone era that Amelia could only imagine. Now, with the house to herself, she felt an inexplicable pull towards the forgotten toy. It was as if the dollhouse was calling out to her, urging her to uncover its secrets and unlock the mysteries it held within its walls. The attic, usually shrouded in darkness, was oddly bright on that day. Sunlight streamed through the small, dusty windows, casting an ethereal glow over the forgotten relics stored there. Sunbeams sliced through the dusty air, illuminating the dollhouse like a spotlight on a stage. It was as if the universe itself was drawing her attention to this miniature world, urging her to explore further. Amelia ran her fingers over the miniature furniture, each piece more exquisite than the last. The craftsmanship was impeccable, with every tiny detail meticulously crafted to perfection. She peered into the tiny rooms, imagining the lives the dolls that once inhabited them might have lived. Each room told a story, a glimpse into a world frozen in time, waiting to be discovered. As she explored, a small, intricately crafted music box caught her eye. It was a beautiful piece, adorned with delicate engravings and a sense of timeless elegance. It lay hidden beneath a four-poster bed in the master bedroom. The box seemed to be waiting for her, a hidden treasure just waiting to be discovered. Intrigued, Amelia carefully lifted the box and turned the key. As the music began to play, she felt a shiver run down her spine, sensing that this was just the beginning of her journey into the unknown. A haunting melody filled the air, a melancholic tune that seemed to weave its way around Amelia, drawing her deeper into the dollhouse's spell. As the music played, the shadows in the room seemed to lengthen, twisting into grotesque shapes that danced at the edge of her vision. She felt a cold hand grip her heart as a chill ran down her spine. Unsettling whispers seemed to emanate from the dollhouse, faint and indistinct, yet laced with an undeniable malice. Her breath quickened, her heart pounded in her chest, but Amelia couldn't bring herself to move. It was as if she were frozen in place, her gaze locked on the miniature world before her. Night after night, Amelia found herself drawn back to the attic, inexorably pulled towards the dollhouse's enigmatic aura. She would spend hours lost in its intricate details, her fingers tracing the tiny furniture, her mind conjuring up stories of the families who might have lived within its walls. The whispers grew stronger, more distinct. Sometimes she could almost make out words, murmurs of despair and threats uttered in hushed tones. One evening, as Amelia sat before the dollhouse, the tiny lights flickered and came on. She watched in horror as miniature figures materialized inside, their movements stiff and unnatural, like puppets controlled by an unseen hand. Terror clawed at her throat as she realized the figures resembled her own family, their faces twisted into masks of fear. Sleep became a distant memory for Amelia. Nightmares, vivid and terrifying, plagued her. The dollhouse and its eerie inhabitants were always present, their tiny eyes burning into her soul, their whispers echoing in her ears long after she woke up. Her once bright eyes were now clouded with fatigue and fear. She tried to distance herself from the dollhouse, to break free from its hold, but it was no use. It was as if the dollhouse had sunk its teeth into her, its claws digging deep into her psyche, refusing to let go. The whispers followed her everywhere, tormenting her, driving her to the brink of madness. Desperate, Amelia sought help from her friend, a historian with a keen interest in the paranormal. She had nowhere else to turn, and the weight of her experiences was becoming unbearable. The shadows in her home seemed to whisper her name, and the eerie occurrences were escalating. He listened patiently as Amelia recounted her experiences, his brow furrowed with concern. Each detail she shared seemed to deepen his worry. He had always been skeptical of ghost stories, but Amelia's genuine fear was undeniable. He had heard whispers and rumors about the Van Dermot dollhouse, tales passed down through generations, dismissed as local folklore. The stories spoke of a cursed object, a dollhouse that brought misfortune to its owners. But seeing the fear in Amelia's eyes, he knew there was more to it than just stories. Her trembling voice and haunted expression told him that this was no mere legend. It was a living nightmare. Together they delved into the history of the dollhouse, poring over old documents, seeking answers in the annals of the past. They spent countless hours in dimly lit rooms, surrounded by the musty scent of ancient books and forgotten records. What they uncovered was more terrifying than they could have imagined. The dollhouse was not just a toy, it was a vessel of dark energy, a conduit for the tormented soul of its creator. The dollhouse, they discovered, had been built by a renowned toy maker, a man consumed by grief after the loss of his family. His sorrow had driven him to the brink of madness, and in his despair he had crafted the dollhouse as a means to channel his pain. He had poured all his sorrow, all his rage into his creation, imbuing it with a piece of his shattered soul. The dollhouse became a living testament to his anguish, a dark relic that carried the weight of his suffering.